So for today, we're going to cover a couple things. We're going to profile one of our customers, NextGen, who's been a customer of Paymetric for quite a few years now. You'll get to hear from them about why they selected Paymetric to work through their systems and PCI compliance issues that they had. We'll talk a little bit about PCI compliance, what it is, some of the acronyms, risks with data breaches, some of the statistics that are out there. We'll talk a little bit about Paymetric solutions that support PCI compliance, and then I'll open the floor up for a Q&A session. So the best way to talk to you a little bit about Paymetric is to feature one of our customers. And today you're going to hear from one of our customers, NextGen. They are a healthcare consulting and HR systems company. They offer software as a service type product out to their customers, subscription type services, so high volume payments. They're headquartered out in Irvine, California. They've got about 3,500 employees. And again, we worked with NextGen on increasing their PCI compliance within their card data environment. And we'll learn a little bit more about that as part of the webinar. So NextGen, when we work with them, they had two major technology platforms that we worked with that payment channels were in scope. One was an SAP ECC system. The other was Salesforce.com, which is used widely in conjunction with an SAP ECC system as a CRM or front-end order processing platform. They had multiple payment acceptance scenarios that were in scope that we reviewed with them for PCI compliance. They were taking payments via call center, via phone. Also, they had a customer self-service portal via Salesforce.com for account setup and subscription setup, where payments information and sensitive information was being stored. And then we also integrated with DocuSign, another common product out there for document flow requirements, and having payments settled in SAP via a Paymetric tool that we call OpenAR. And if you're not familiar with OpenAR, it is a tool that Paymetric built that allows you to accept payments post-invoicing, meaning the invoice has already been generated and we're going to collect payment with a payment card against that invoice while it sits in the customer's receivable account. So those were the three scenarios that we worked through with NextGen. And for payment types, they were accepting Visa, MasterCard, and Amex, which is very common. They worked with two processors that we were communicating with, Elevon, and they worked directly with American Express. And they were processing all US dollars in a level 1 processing state. So this is a very common scenario that a lot of customers might experience working with multiple processors, Visa, MasterCard, and Amex, and USD level 1 processing. So with that, why don't we hear from NextGen, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about PCI DSS, what it is, how Paymetric solves for some of those risks. We'll talk a little bit more about that and then open the floor up for questions. So you're going to have a short video here from our customer NextGen.
I'm Francie Gallagher. I am the SAP Business Analyst Manager at NextGen. NextGen actually is a much larger EHR implementation for the healthcare industry. Acquired a company that's a software as a service, a much smaller company. As we started doing the discovery, to move them from their old ERP system to SAP, we talked to a number of people, and they just said, being a public company, you're at risk, and the PCI audit is just a huge expense in and of itself. When we started looking, the best solution we could find, because it was integrated naturally with SAP, was Paymetric. We decided one day, and a week later we had our, the SOW was signed, and we had boots on the ground, team was there, and we had a 2-day discovery blueprint session, and we were off and running. We needed to be live in 8 weeks, and they were able to get us there early and under budget. For our users, it feels like it's just a part of the application. It doesn't feel like it's a third-party bolt-on. It really feels like it's a part of the solution. From an implementation standpoint, the turnaround time is just so quick and efficient. The PCI compliance was just, you can't beat it. I mean, that's just, if that's something that's of a concern for you and your organization, I don't know why you wouldn't go anywhere else other than Paymetric.
Okay, so just a short video from our customer NextGen, and something important that they mentioned. I think a lot of companies, when they go through different acquisition processes, is sometimes when they start to think about how the data is being stored in different processes, when they have to go back and take a look at merging processes and coming up with standard processes, a lot of times these questions start to come up. And it's a good time as you're redesigning processes to have a company like Paymetric come in and help you make sure that all of your payment channels are secure. So that's what we do for our customers. So as most of you will know, and you probably hear it in the news weekly, there is a growing risk with data breaches. I mean, I think we all hear about data breaches just too often, unfortunately. Data breaches are increasing. In 2016, they had increased up to 40%. Not only is the percentage of companies that are being breached increasing, but the cost for breach damages is also increasing. So it's no joke what companies are paying in fines, loss of data, regenerating cards. We're talking billions of dollars that companies are spending when they have a data breach and data is compromised. Most IT companies or IT professionals now are budgeting a lot for increasing security spend. Going through, there's a lot of money spent on PCI audits, making sure that systems are in compliance, making sure that, and there's layers and layers of security that are in place to help protect these companies. So there's a lot of people working on these efforts, and there's a lot of money that's going into this. So what is PCI DSS? So the acronym itself stands for Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards. So way back, 15 years ago or so, all of the different brands, so think Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, they all had their own rules. So merchants that were using those cards all had to be in compliance under those rules. Well, they got together and created this PCI Security Standards Council, where they all came together and they created an overall consolidated group of rules and standards that companies are now required to follow. And any merchant out there, any company that is accepting a debit or credit card must be in compliance with these rules, or there's pretty significant fines that come from the council and from Visa, MasterCard, American Express. It was created really to reduce the amount of credit card fraud globally. So as companies were being breached, card information was being stolen, the incidence of fraud was just increasing. So companies were suffering terrible losses. So this is why this council is in place. This is why the rules are in place to protect that card data and sensitive data that merchants are storing. As a course of their everyday business, nobody wants to experience a fraud issue, and nobody wants their name associated with a data breach. Like I said, it's got significant costs to it, reputation and brand damage. So it's something that is very important and not to be taken lightly. So PCI DSS actually has about 12 standards that are part of it. One of the key ones that Paymetric works with is that any cardholder, sensitive cardholder data must be secure within any data environment or card data environment where it's being used. So a card data environment is really defined for a customer as any system within a landscape that is accepting payments where card information is being used. And that can be multiple systems. For most customers, that can be an ERP system where payments are being taken. It can be an e-commerce platform. It can be an IVR. Where customers are calling in. It can be an electronic bill presentment and payment system. Customers have kiosks. I mean, you name it. There are so many ways that payments can be accepted these days. Any system within a merchant's architecture that's accepting card data has to be secure. That card data must be secure. So how does Paymetric do that? And this is one of our key solutions. How do we secure that data? Well, we generate what's called tokens. Where we actually accept the payment card data from the system directly, and it's really any system in your environment, not just the ERP system, the e-com platform, your IVR, electronic bill presentment, any system. This is kind of a one-stop or common process that secures that data. We actually will intercept the card data, the raw card data, and we will generate what we call a token. So a token, I'm going to talk a little bit more about tokens on the next slide, but a token is the greatest form of encryption right now. It's the highest form of encryption. It's a number that cannot be reverse engineered. So it's a 16-digit, basically it's a pointer to a location where the card data is being stored. If a data breach were to occur and a token is stolen, it's unusable by anybody. So it's unusable data. It's usable in the sense that any communications with your payment processors can use those tokens. So we have all of that communication worked out with all of the processors. But anybody who might steal that data or look at that data, it's unusable to them. So that's the fundamentals of how we help customers stay in PCI compliance. We're eliminating that transmission of card data, cardholder data with our tokenization technology. So once that token is in place, that is what's being used in communication with the payment processor. We're storing the data in our offsite data vault. Our data centers, we'll talk about them as well. Our data centers are secure, and they've got we're the ones that are holding the raw card data on behalf of our customers. We have multiple token formats, so we can actually secure a variety of different data types. And this goes beyond PCI itself, only deals with credit card or payment card data. However, Paymetric tokens can be also used to secure any sensitive data out there. So think social security numbers. It could be a driver's license number. Any information that can be used to identify a person. We have different token formats that essentially it's the same thing that can be used to secure that data within a customer environment. So when you're using tokens, you're improving your data security, you're protecting your brand. Again, using tokenization would not necessarily stop a data breach from occurring. A hacker could still get into a system, but the data is unusable to them at that point. That's the benefit of tokenization. It reduces your audit scope and cost within your card data environment. Remember, when you're doing a PCI environment, your card data environment includes any system or database that has access to this information. So it's usually not one system. And you have to go through the entire audit process for every system. So using tokenization helps you achieve the key part of that PCI DSS audit compliance. And again, I mentioned tokenization can work within any platform that touches or stores sensitive data. So let's talk a little bit about Paymetric tokenization. So again, I mentioned a token is a subset of numbers that represents the payment card, but it can't be reverse engineered. It's a proprietary solution that's owned by Paymetric. We do not use any of the processors we work with. We are not using any of our processors' tokenization solutions. There's a couple advantages to our tokenizations. Our tokens are multi-use, so for companies that have customers that are repeat buyers or they offer a subscription-based business, once that token is generated, as long as the customer is using that same card, we're using the same token. I mean, that's an advantage from a reporting perspective. When you're looking at reports, you're not always going to see a different token value if you're looking at order reports or different payment statistics. Our tokens are multi-use. Usable parts of the original data are retained, and what this means is that you will see some of the original card data in our tokenization string. Most commonly, you'll see the last 4 digits, but we do have multiple token formats. And that's again for usability. If you're speaking to a customer or a customer is using a self-service payment portal and a token comes up that they're looking at, they'll know it's their Visa card ending in 1111. So it's identifiable to them. Only tokenize what you need. So this is important. In our environment, on the Paymetric side, we're only storing the raw card information. We're not storing anything else. We're not storing expiration date, any of the cardholder data information, just the actual primary account number, the card number. On the customer system side, you're getting the token, and then you're also getting the expiration date and the other cardholder data that's usable. So we've kind of broken up the chain of data. Neither Paymetric nor the company has a complete set of the data all the way across that can be usable. I mean, again, that's in case of a data breach anywhere that nobody's got the full set of data that can be used. So we're only tokenizing what we need. We've got a neutral credit card token vault. Our tokens can be used by a variety of processors, and it's not uncommon for customers to work with multiple processors. Our tokens are built to communicate with all of the processors we work with. So it gives customers the advantage of being able to work or switch to different processors as needed based on their requirements. It's our own tokenization technology, as I mentioned up front, so you are working with Paymetric. We're not contracting with any other third party to support this tokenization. Our testing and production tokens are the same and consistent. That's not necessarily true for other tokenization solutions out there. So you can feel assured that what you're testing with is what you're going to see in production. And I think that's a key system implementation benefit, that your testing results are consistent with what you're going to see in production. And also, very importantly, on the tokenization side, we don't have to make an authorization call to generate a token. So this is a savings for companies that may have subscription type setups and they want to update a customer master record with a token. They don't want to call out for an authorization yet. There's no sales order, there's no amount. So you don't have to have an authorization call, which saves some money. Our tokenization and authorization calls are completely decoupled. Again, that's a differentiator to other tokenization solutions that can be a cost savings to companies. So definitely some advantages to Paymetric tokenization for your organization. So when we think about security, there are layers of security, and we've built a lot of new technologies over the past couple years that enhance our tokenization process, that help build more PCI DSS compliance. And let me explain to you what I mean. So a lot of our customers, most of our customers operate on an SAP or Oracle or large ERP backend system. When we deploy our tokenization in that environment, the application itself is out of scope, but the network, the workstation, meaning the laptop or desktop, and the associate, the person that might be entering the card data, are still in scope because the card data can still be visible in those environments. Well, you can take that one step further, and you can implement what we call point-to-point encryption, and you can use a pin pad that can easily integrate into a desktop or a laptop environment. And that means you're entering the call center agent or associate is entering the card data into a secure pin pad. That then takes your application, your ERP, SAP, Oracle out of scope, your network, and the workstation out of scope, where that raw card data isn't touching those environments, not even for a couple seconds. In that case, though, the associate or the person, your employee, is still hearing a card, raw card information. There are some customers that are taking that even farther these days, and they want everything out of scope. They don't even want their employees to hear, touch, see anything related to payment card data. And we offer 2 types of integration in that sense in call center environments, where we can send a secure email link out to a customer and they can enter their card information, send it back in, and it completes the transaction so that the associate or call center agent doesn't hear the card information. We also have a product for what we call DTMF, and that's the payment over the phone, the tone tokenization. so that if payments are taken over the phone, all of that is blocked out and an agent can't hear the numbers that are being entered. So when you're in that environment, you're still using Paymetric's tokenization, but you've got another security product wrapped around that that takes you further into PCI compliance, where your application, your network, your workstation, and your associate are out of scope. So there are layers. All of it's good. At a minimum, you want to be at this level where you're using general tokenization and you're securing your SAP or your large ERP system. For companies that have large call center environments, what we see is that most of these companies are adding on additional security wrappers around tokenization to provide greater PCI compliance. So let's talk about our data center. Our data centers are here in the United States. They're world-class Tier 4 infrastructure and managed services. We are up 24/7, 24-hour monitoring. We've never had a security issue with any of our data centers. It's completely secure. We do have some information for customers that are interested. We do share a little bit more information about our data centers, but we do keep most of that close to our vest just for security reasons. But we do have world-class data centers here in the US where we're storing the data. And with that, I'm gonna just wait for a couple seconds. That wraps up our kind of overview summary of PCI compliance today. Again, this is something that if you want to have an in-depth conversation with our teams, we can gladly set that up. We're very consultative. We'll take you through all of your channels, all of the technologies that you're operating, all of the ways you're accepting payments, and make recommendations on the best way that you can achieve the highest level of PCI compliance for all of those. So with that, I will wrap it up for today. Thank you for joining our webcast this month, and be sure to join us. We'll be doing these webcasts each month with just a short overview of a payment security or payment acceptance topic. Again, if you have any questions, email us at info@paymetric.com, or you can give us a call at the number you see on screen here. Thank you again, and have a great day, everyone.